Hey folks, Yishai Fleischer here. Behind me is the big Arab city of Hebron. Within that Arab city is a small enclave of the Jewish people. We've been living in this town for 3,500 years, sometimes as an ethnic majority, today as an ethnic minority. Okay, but what's the future? Are we going to be able to hand this town over to the Palestinian Authority? We did that, and you know what happened? The place became jihadist, and it's full of Hamas and full of Israel hate. Same thing happened in Gaza. We gave away the control of Gaza to the Palestinian Authority. Then Hamas took it over, brainwashed the people there. Anybody who was not brainwashed, they shot, they tortured. Okay, they planned an October 7th massacre. We know that much of the Gazan population was part of that. They were into that. They supported that. We know that. There are, of course, people, many, who aren't part of that, and today they just want to leave. They don't want to be part of Hamas. They don't want to live in destroyed Gaza. So on the one hand, it became jihadist and Hamas and full of enemies on October the 7th. On the other hand, there are many people today that want to leave. And on the third hand, the place is partially destroyed, and it's very hard to live there, and it's going to take a long time to fix it. What do we do with that population? We people on the nationalist camp in Israel think that Israel should assert control over Gaza, control it, govern it, and make it into a decent place. The Trump administration has their plan, but all the different plans include one thing, which is helping immigration happen out of Gaza, helping people leave and start a new life somewhere else so that place can be cleaned up. Let's take a look at a discussion that I had with Naomi Kahn, who is the Director of International Affairs at Regavim, which is an important organization. I had a chat with her about the Trump plan and about the practical future of Gaza. Before we go there, I just want to remind you, you could like, subscribe, comment, and check out the links below to support our efforts to strengthen the land of Israel and to strengthen our heritage and our connection with God and to strengthen lovers of Israel around the world. Here's my discussion with Naomi Kahn about the future of Gaza. One of the biggest ways that they trick you is by asking you the question, is it realistic? They throw it out to you. Is it realistic? Can we do it? Can it ever be done? Can anything ever change? Is it realistic? Every time you say to them, Israel should assert sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, they say, is it realistic? You tell them we should kick out the jihadis from Judea and Samaria, from anywhere in and around Israel, and certainly from Gaza Strip. They say, but is it realistic? When you ask them, is it realistic to keep the status quo going, to have the jihad take over Gaza, to have them take over Judea and Samaria, to have them dig tunnels, make an October 7th massacre on us, make hostages suffer for over 500 days? You say, that's the reality today. Maybe it's time for a new thinking, and maybe that new thinking can be indeed realistic. And that's the beauty of President Trump, as a player in this region. He's coming up with some creative thinking, and people are out there being like, is that realistic? I don't know if it's realistic. Is it realistic? And yet maybe it is realistic. Somebody who thinks it's realistic is, well, the beginnings of that kind of thinking is happening in the Israeli government. More than 100 participants attended a special session in our Knesset, which is our parliament here, hosted by the Land of Israel Caucus. That's a big caucus within the Knesset, to discuss voluntary immigration of the population of Gaza, how to help emigrate out, how to help the Gazan people find a new life somewhere else, as was proposed by President Donald Trump. The discussion was led by Yuli Edelstein, Limor Har-Melech, Simcha Rothman, and heard from very important leaders here in Israel who came to speak. The room was packed. And there was a lot of interest in this issue of, is it real? Can we make it happen? Is it practical to help that population leave? One of the people that attended that session and spearheaded that session was Naomi Kahn. She's the director of the International Division of Regavim, which is an organization, one of my favorites, that promotes Zionist land use policy in the state of Israel, because some of the policies are not Zionist. And here is Naomi Kahn. Naomi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Naomi, how was this event? I understand that it was a packed house and a lot of Knesset members.
It was a packed house and on a very unusual day. Generally, Sundays, there are no plenary sessions in the Knesset, and there are no committee sessions in the Knesset. Sunday is pretty much a quiet day, and there was standing room only. People were waiting in line to get a chair. It was very impressive. But I want to pick up on something that you mentioned in your introduction. Is it realistic? Is it realistic was a major theme of the opening remarks for each of the heads of the caucus. And I think it harkens back to something that David Ben-Gurion said generations ago already. He said, it doesn't matter what the world says, it matters what the people of Israel do. That's not a direct quote, but we add a corollary to that now. And that is, it's not only what the people of Israel do, it's what we dare to think, what we dare to envision, what we dare to dream and express. That will dictate what we do, and that will dictate a new reality. And that's what yesterday's conference was about, really. It was a hearing of ideas about how to really, I would say, implement that vision that was painted by President Trump in broad terms, and to make it realistic, to make it a reality. Reality is changing. Reality is very, very fluid on the ground in Israel. And President Trump, and I think the nations of the world are very much aware that our reality is very fluid. The only ones who aren't really grappling with that fluidity and that change is the state of Israel itself. We're stuck in paradigms and concepts that have failed us, that came crashing down on October 7th. And we have been afraid to express a bold new vision and to make that vision into a reality. This is the time.
There's tons of Arabs that have made videos saying, just let me out. Just open the door. There is no future for me here. Let's watch one of those videos right now.
الدول العربية مش هتحلنا، لو كانت تحلنا كان حلتنا من البداية. الدول العربية من 2014 بتحاول تعمر في غزة، الدعم الخارجي ما عمل ولا شيء غير الأبراج القطرية. غير هيك ما عملناش شيء ولا حلونا في أي شيء. قصة الخيام هتطول أكثر من المدى المطلوب. والله احنا بنطالب بفتح الحدود لانه بطل في إلنا لا راس مال نشتغل فيه ولا حياه. انا مخلص توجيه ومتعلم معدل 97 بسط خضره قاعد. هذا حل، هذا منطق يعني.
الان او مقبلا الحدود هتنفتح ان شاء الله، ما فيش شيء هيضل مغلق، وان شاء الله بصير لنا امكانيه للسفر في الخارج. هم اصلا بدهم يطلعوا من القطاع، هينتقلوا على مرحله ثانيه الحين على منطقه جغرافيه اخرى يشتغلوا فيها.
Just open the borders.
افتح المعبر، افتح المعبر.
Iftach al-Ma'avar, open the borders. Open the borders. That's all I'm asking for. I mean, listen to what this man is saying. He's just saying, give me a decency and an opportunity. Stop using me as a pawn.
ما تتحججش.
And don't make up excuses, he says. Don't start to say this way and that way. Make all kinds of excuses, all kinds of problems. This is stopping us. This is stopping us.
افتح افتح.
He finishes up with iftach, open, just open. There you go. You see how many Arabs are out there being like, I want a chance at a new life. Give it to me. Stop playing with me.
I'll tell you how many Arabs there are. Actually, something that was presented at the conference yesterday was an off-the-record, meaning behind-the-scenes poll of the Palestinian Arabs of Gaza. After the war, before the outbreak of the October 7th war, somewhere around 30% of the Gazan population said they wanted to emigrate permanently. The number among young people was over 50%. But after the outbreak of the war, and only 3 months in, when the destruction of Gaza was just beginning, another poll was taken by a very reputable, essentially the only reputable Palestinian poll research institute. It was commissioned anonymously so that there would be no bias involved. It was an Arabic, a well-known and well-respected pollster who discovered that since the outbreak of the war, the number of Palestinian Arabs of Gaza who express a desire to emigrate permanently from the Gaza Strip is over 60%. Another 20% said that they, or approximately 10 to 20% said that they would be, that they're interested in emigrating temporarily. Only around 20% of the people polled said that they would not leave Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. And
Okay.
so it's
Okay,
realistic.
so we have a will of the people.
No question. Yes, it's realistic.
Well, it's realistic because the people that live there want to leave.
Correct.
And there's another organization, you said the state of Israel is a little calcified, but also Hamas themselves. They're not interested in having the populace leave. Their control of the populace is one of their main weapons. They want to see civilian deaths. They want to see civilian tragedy. That way they could sell it to the world. Okay, they want to see them. They love to continue to use those people as their human shields and really as the currency for what they keep going over there. Okay.
But just point out that yesterday, Simcha Rothman, member of Knesset, Simcha Rothman, who's a co-chair of the caucus, in his opening remarks said yesterday, anyone who opposes voluntary emigration of the population of Gaza is complicit not only with Hamas, but with a very careful strategic plan that was set in motion by Yihya Sinwar. So it's not just that you can't sit on the fence. If you're sitting on the fence and you're not actively promoting the freedom of people to emigrate, to get out of a war zone, to begin a normal life, to be accepted in other countries, you are essentially you're Sinwar. You're on his side. You're on his team. And
that's right. You want them to be jailed. You want them to be jailed and living in a humanitarian crisis.
Sure, you can. That's the only way they can use them to their advantage, and it's a powerful thought.
There have been many countries that have already made statements that they would accept refugees. I've heard stuff from Spain, from Australia, from Canada, from Scotland, and of course there's many Arab countries. The UAE. It's well known that so-called Palestinian Arabs are interested in migrating to the UAE because there's jobs there. There's also North Africa, all those countries that could use good people. Not to mention that there's some discussion about Ukraine these days. There is where to go. And there's a big expat community of so-called Palestinians in Chile and in other places.
America, there have been Latin American countries who've expressed quietly a willingness. There are many countries with aging populations who that need workers. They need people. They need laborers. They need people. They need. There are many countries that are in zero population patterns or negative population growth patterns, and there are many ways for this to be a win-win. And I think it's more accurate to say a win-win-win, because it's a win for the people who are being used in Gaza. It's a win for Israel. It's a win for the nations that will take in young and able-bodied, yes, and people who want to start a new life. And it will be a win certainly for the United States. There's a lot to be gained here. Professor Eugene Kantorovich, who spoke at the event yesterday, actually said the United States is not going to do anything if there's no gain for the United States involved. And there's a lot to be gained here by the United States. If arrangements are made, this will be a win-win-win-win. So that's where we're headed.
Well, let's watch that clip of Eugene Kantorovich, who happened to have spoken there at the caucus in English. So we'll be able to catch that here. Let's take a look.
Important question will be addressed to this plan is, does it violate international law? Making it possible for people to leave does not violate international law. Indeed, it helps protect international law and enforce international law rules. Currently, Gaza is a little North Korea, where the rulers keep the population prisoner with the help of a local country. The population of Gaza is the only people on earth with an international status of serfs. They are tied to their land and not allowed to leave, with an ancestral status as refugees passed on amongst generations. What does international law have to say about attempts to change this? First of all, we know that in time of war, there are refugees. From Afghanistan, millions of refugees. From the war in Syria, millions of refugees. From the war in Ukraine, millions of refugees. None of this is called ethnic cleansing. Now, the creation of such refugees cannot be done on purpose, but it need not be specifically prevented as a consequence of war. In the case of Gaza, they are kept prisoner by both Hamas inside and Egypt outside. Egypt violates international law and in particular its obligations under the African Union Convention to take in refugees. Removing the barriers to people fleeing Gaza is not violating international law, it is enforcing it. More importantly, currently people are being paid to stay in Gaza. How are they being paid to stay in Gaza? Prior to the war, the three largest employers in Gaza were the government of Gaza, which is run by Hamas and paid for by the European Union and other countries. Those jobs need never come back. The second biggest employer, Israel, jobs in Israel. Those jobs are never coming back. Third biggest employer, UNRWA, paid for the international community and run by Hamas. Those jobs were designed to make it possible for people to stay artificially. International law does not require foreign assistance to keep a population from deciding to migrate. Moreover, blocking such assistance is not a violation of international law. Additionally, providing assistance to allow people to migrate and flee oppression is not a violation of international law. We know there was a movement for Soviet Jewry, which sought to help Soviet Jews to flee the Iron Curtain by providing them with assistance. That was not ethnic cleansing of the Jews of the Soviet Union. That was giving them a meaningful choice in their life. Such opportunities must be provided to the people of Gaza. Finally, I'll say one word about the second part of the Trump plan. The Trump plan envisions some form of U.S. interest, involvement, or control in a future Gaza. This is very important, and we must take it very seriously. The new foreign policy of America sees it as crucial that everything have a return investment for the United States. Nothing should be taken as just a favor. And we need to look very favorably and take seriously America's interest in Gaza and understand that nothing is going to be done for free, and America needs to be thanked, America needs to be appreciated, and we should look at opportunities for what we call condominium, not like an apartment, but a form of joint rule. Condominium is when two countries control one place, like Andorra.
But it is the state of Israel, so how can it be a condominium?
By agreement. America will not support that which does not have a return for it. In the meantime, we should look at other ways we can help America in exchange for the extraordinary understanding it is showing Israel's position. And I will say, it's a bit premature to talk about people leaving Gaza if the state of Israel cannot even leave the World Health Organization when America does.
All right, so that was Professor Eugene Kantorovich, and he's talking about making it real. And let's get really to the point here. Naomi Kahn, director of the International Division of Regavim. Is it realistic? When you sat in that room with lawmakers, did you feel that there is a movement forward, a consciousness that's changing in this country to help Gazan Arabs leave Gaza and change the makeup of Gaza so that tomorrow it's a new thing and there's not going to be a dangerous enemy on Israel's border or in Israeli land, if you will? A change. Is it possible? Is it realistic?
It is possible. It is actually happening. One of the important messages that came out of yesterday's proceedings was remarks by the Minister of Finance, Israel's Minister of Finance, Betzalel Smotrich, who came to the conference to inform everyone who was there and to the world that he, the Prime Minister, and the Minister of Defense have been involved in intensive conversations about how to create an emigration authority that would actually oversee the logistical aspects of making this actually happen. He said he just returned from the United States, where the president and his counterparts and other members of Congress said to him, it is not feasible that people with a Nazi ideology who are sworn to your destruction are within spitting distance of your country. It is just not feasible that there should be 2 million Hamas terrorists right on your back step. So
right. So, but let me cut you off there. That's one aspect of it, which is help the enemies of Israel not be there anymore. But then there's another aspect, which is help the decent people who want a decent life out. There are those amongst the Gazan population. Help them leave. Help them not be under the thumb, and help their children not get brainwashed into jihadism to make a new generation of them. Remember that the abuse of jihadism is first and foremost on their own local population.
So the question it boils down to de-radicalization of Gaza. How do you de-radicalize a population like this that has no future and has been brainwashed for generations and survives only insofar as it adheres to Hamas's philosophy? And the very simple answer is de-radicalization can only happen if they're not there. If they are dispersed, if they are taken out from under the thumb of an incredibly dangerous, violent, oppressive regime. I was watching today a few of escapees of Gaza who spoke to the Israeli television channel, from one from Berlin and another one from France, and they were talking about things that they were arrested and tortured for in Gaza because one of them participated in a protest about the expense of basic food staples. Not against Hamas ideology, not in favor of Israel, not anything else. The slogan was 2 words, 3 words in English. We want life. That was it. And for that, he was arrested and he was tortured. He was kept in prison by Hamas because no dissent is possible. No protest is possible. These people deserve better than that. And the world owes them more than that.
Naomi Kahn is the director of the International Division of Regavim, one of my favorite organizations promoting Zionist land use policy in Israel. Naomi, thank you so much for joining us. And let's hope for those Gazans that they get to share in a better day tomorrow.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much, Naomi. And thank you very much, folks, for being with me. Yishai Fleischer here. And you are more than welcome to continue to stay in contact by subscribing, by commenting, by liking, and also by joining us at our various support network efforts. Fightforisrael.org is a way for you to support our broadcasting, our teaching of Torah throughout the world, and our beautification of the land of Israel, including Tractors for Israel, which is a great project. And if you love the show, buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. All right, folks, let's hope and pray that the leaders of Israel will actually be able to imbibe those new ideas that are coming down the pipes through the advent of President Trump and through others who have been saying it for ages, like people like ourselves. We've been saying for ages there's a better way, not to give away our land, to hold on to our land, and to actually give away our jihadis and let other people have an opportunity for life. Let me know what you think. Write me an email, yishai@yishaifleischer.com, and I'm sending you blessings from the land of blessings, and shalom.